Welcome to Creative Spaces Podcast with Guy Zwick, Chief Creative Officer of Highway 85 Creative. In each episode, we will discuss creative ways to define your space and build your brand.
I'm hesitantly thankful for trade shows.
The hesitant, huh?
Mark Flynn and I go back, 20...
Oh, okay.
3 years, Mark? In the
94.
trade show? 94? 94 we started working together.
Sorry, man. The mics are not that sensitive. You got to get up on that.
Yeah, so Mark said 94. He's leaning back. He's a casual dude right now.
I like it.
But yeah, Mark and I worked together 94. Trade show industry came up in it. He's here in Vegas. And so Mark, tell us, since you don't want to tell us why you're thankful for trade shows, why don't you tell us why you're not thankful for trade shows? And then we'll combat it. He's made a living off of it. He's got great clients. He's tearing it up. He lives in Sin City where all the magic happens. So let's go, curmudgeon. Tell us.
I am thankful for trade shows that they provide a living. I am not thankful for my staffing issues and the fact that I am at limited capacity in a one-man army. So hard to grow when we can't be consistent. Though we provide a unique service within the business.
Yes.
So our phone rings and that keeps us busy.
The guy's complaining about having more business than he knows what to deal with. I mean, that's
a good problem, right?
So hey, let's hit him up with a couple of our.
Oh
normal,
Let me throw this out there. Okay.
I don't have my reader.
We have these 5 basic questions we've been asking people, and so I'll just throw one out there at you. It's what's one thing in the industry as a whole could improve on?
My business finds a lot of international shoppers, and the challenge that I have is explaining why the American market is incongruent with the way the rest of the world provides trade shows. Having to deal with labor unions and Boston's and Chicago's makes us look uncompetitive to the rest of the world because of our labor unions and our style of living.
Yeah, okay. It is very different doing a show in, let's say, Germany compared to here. As far as even when you come to a trade show in Germany, you've got multiple electrical companies you can choose from, multiple forklift drivers to bring in, but there's options here. You don't.
Why is it?
There's not a consistency to it.
Why is it that Teamsters tell us it would be chaos if everyone brought their own forklift here, but they managed to do it in Germany? Certainly, the venues are different, and the layout of the convention centers and halls, and being that they're small cities and we're one-off buildings, I get the metaphor of it, but it's a catch because our cost of living is higher. Generally, I think our economy works a little differently than that of Europe and Asia. So it's a challenging process to try to articulate how there's value in our fees when it's 50% more than the rest of the world.
That isn't. Oh man.
Yeah.
That's challenging.
True.
Yeah.
So would you say that? Listen, we were both in this on a couple of booms. You know, the internet boom, the housing boom. Things all that fed for some good trade show life, I think, for us and for other companies. And then we've had a couple of 9/11. I don't call it the recession, I call it the depression, where it's turned around. So how do you see the state of the industry right now, Mr. Flynn?
I think there's a pent-up demand, and I find a lot more traffic and a lot more shopping. I think it's still a land of the have and the have-nots, and so the mature industries like the Microsofts and the Googles and the Amazons are going to continue to absorb those players that are making headway but make a better mousetrap.
Yep.
So instead of providing shelf space, they just buy them.
Wow. Yeah.
So if you think of the markets that, medical will always be funded with baby boomers. Consumer electronics are a low margin kind of endeavor. So generally, I find there aren't more budgets, but there's more people looking to spend. So I guess by virtue, that's a bigger pie to divide but individually, companies are still cautious.
Without going into this GPS kit with you because you don't know it, I'm just going to ask you, as you're meeting with existing clients and prospective clients, what do you think the biggest thing is that exhibiting marketing managers and exhibiting people do poorly when planning for trade shows? What do you see over and over where you're just like, well, you give me an eyebrow raise? Is there a lot of items or just one in particular? Like, I see this problem all the time. They say this, they do this, they don't say this, they don't ask this.
I'm not quite on the front lines of many of the exhibit companies that are selling here. My company is the leader in the rebranded used exhibits. So I chase a lot of folks that are asking questions that are underfunded or trying to do things with a limited staff or limited budgets. So I don't compete with the MC Squareds and the Durseys on the $1 million 100-show programs. I'm more.
So let's just say if you're dealing with someone who's got lower budget, looking for a used exhibit, trying to scrape a little bit more bang for their dollar, are you seeing that they're planning for their trade shows in a successful manner generally, or?
To me, the question is helping them identify their target. How do they distinguish of the attendees at a show, what percentage are likely buyers, and how do they get them to the booth? I don't think the booth property itself is memorable for most companies, and I don't think most attendees care what the company's exhibit looks like 6 weeks after the show. It's interaction,
the experience.
Was the company knowledgeable? Did they follow up? Did they do the things they ask of us?
Yep.
I would think 80% of the exhibits out there are more of the same, so what,
but
portable modulars.
It comes down to that audience terrain is what I say. And the exhibit, if it's well thought out, you're right. The exhibit, the attendee doesn't really care how tall your tower is or whether that's fabric or not fabric, or however, how it's built, and how they navigate through the demos and through the experience, and depending on if they're there to be sold or if they're there to be educated, how that experience happens is vital to a successful trade show.
I think if a company works through an integrated marketing program, they can make the same spend go farther, and it doesn't have to be exhibitory per se. It's identifying your target. How do you follow up on that target? How do you track it? Through the CTSM program, they talk about ROI but there isn't a magic wand. You can't just put a CD in a computer and fill it out and say, I'm tracking it. To me, that's the beautiful thing of the process. You get to decide what you're going to track, and as long as you track something, then you're ahead of most of the market.
Mark Flynn, thank you for being drug over here to chat for 5 minutes. It's been a pleasure.
Just let me add that Highway 85 is doing some great work here, and I'm happy for your successes, and I hope you continue to grow.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. That's sweet.
Thank you for listening to Creative Spaces Podcast. For more information about Highway 85 Creative, visit us at highway85creative.com.